Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Thursday. It is the National Holiday 1/6. I know that you guys, a lot of you guys that are watching the show on YouTube, and many people in the Zoom tonight have been watching some things unfold over the last week or so, at least, since Christmas especially. And there's been a lot of questions floating around, a lot of things said, a lot of stuff that needs to be cleared up. So I decided I would hold my own question and answer episode on Break the Cycle tonight. And so if you guys are here, I am going to be taking questions from the people that are in the Zoom. There's a Zoom link. I posted it on my Twitter. There's a new link. I just posted on my Twitter. It should be my newest post on there. If you follow me on Twitter at BreakJoshua, if you get in the Zoom, you can ask questions, with your video or audio. I'll be watching the chat as closely as possible so I can take some of your guys' questions as well. Of course, before we get started, since it is a Break the Cycle episode, I do want to drop shout-outs to toplobster.com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend and partner on Break the Cycle, where you can get this great Getting High on the Ideas of Liberty Ron Paul hoodie that you see me wearing tonight by using BTC at checkout for a 10% discount. Or you can go over to the Patreon and subscribe star or become a member of this here YouTube channel to get all of Top Lobster's new gear up to 2 weeks before it goes to the general public at like a 30% discount. And of course, executive producers of the show, anthemplanning.com, for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out today, see what they can do for your business, home, or personal life. They're doing a wonderful job that the government has historically sucked at much cheaper and much more efficiently. Seriously, if you guys own a business, go check them out. Good people. Amy Lepore and my good friend Griff from Delaware run this company. They're amazing, and they do really good work. I have some viewers who have been working with them, and they have a lot of good things to say. So go check them out. Guys, so before we get started, I want to talk about what's been going on a little bit. I am running for vice chair. If you watch the show, you already know I'm running for vice chair. I started running for vice chair several months ago. I believe it was September. My good friend Karen Ann Harlos was going through some things after we did a little bit of whistleblowing on the New Hampshire issue, and they were trying very hard to remove her. At the time, there was another person running for vice chair. It was the only other person I knew at the time that was running for vice chair, Aaron Adams, who used to be a good friend of mine. I was pretty upset about the way she handled the New Hampshire issue, and I made it very clear that if she voted to remove my friend Karen Ann Harlos from the board, I would be running for vice chair. She ended up voting to remove Karen Ann in an email, and when that email went out, I immediately on my show announced that I'd be running for vice chair. So this has been several months in the running. Now, I was unaware at the time of the Mises Caucus backing anybody, Angela backing anybody. In fact, 2 days later, Angela McArdle texted me and said, "Hey, we already announced with Eric Rodsep." And I simply replied with good luck. Good luck to him. That wasn't a good enough reason for me to end my vice chair candidacy, mainly because I didn't feel that I was represented by that vice chair candidate. I was very clear about the fact that I thought if the Mises Caucus was going to back somebody, if Angela was going to back somebody, it needed to be somebody who was representing the Mises Caucus. And so I decided not to remove my candidacy. And I had talked to Mike and Angela a couple times back and forth a little bit. It wasn't anything huge, and we didn't have any huge fights. I just made sure that they knew that I was going to continue to run, and I wish them luck. Mike and I had a 2-hour conversation in Boston several weeks ago about the situation. I said I think I can get the members, and I was going to continue my campaign, and then it was a little hurtful, I'll say that, and I didn't want to make anything public. I know there's some people here tonight that are probably upset with the way that I handle things, and I'm okay with that. I knew that the way I was going to handle it would likely lose me some support, but I felt like the membership knew, the membership had the right to know who they were supporting for vice chair. So I went on a sort of offensive when it comes to Eric Rodsep, and I posted a lot of his positions. You guys have seen those positions. I don't need to reiterate them and go over them ad nauseum. They weren't positions that represented us as Mises Caucus members. I've been with the Mises Caucus since the ground floor, since there was 55 people in a Facebook group. We had no state organizers. We had no committees. We were raising no money. We didn't even have a website. And I picked up that torch and I traveled around the country. I went to 25 states for my chair campaign in 2017, 2018. I helped build this thing from the ground up. And then again in 2020, for the 2020 race, I went to 12 states prior to being shut down for COVID. And then I continued to try and do everything I could through Zoom and Skype. And then if you guys were at the Orlando National Convention in 2020, you know that I lost to Joe Bishop Henchman by about 100 votes. There was some pretty shady things that went on with that election and those votes. We don't have to get into that, but I was really unhappy with the way it went down. Some people on the LNC feel like that election was stolen and that they tried it with other elections as well there. And I announced pretty quickly right after that I was going to be reseeking chair again. I'd put in the fight and I wanted to give it one more bite at the apple. But I didn't. I announced and then Angela announced. And at first I thought about continuing to run, but I decided to step down and endorse Angela because I think she's a great pick. I think she'll do great things as a chair. But then a lot of stuff started coming out about me, and I'm sure some people are confused. I've heard my own people talking about me, being derelict in my duties on boards, that I'm too busy with my family and work. And it's a lot of things that I want to clear up. So I know there's a pros and cons list floating around out there about me that one of the state organizers made that people are adding all kinds of crazy things to about me. And so I want to clear up. I am not too busy for the vice chair race at all. In fact, this is the first time in the entire time that I've been campaigning for any position on the LNC that I've had more time than ever. I mean, when I was running in 2017, 2018, I was a nomad. I didn't have a lot of time, but I was just trying to get what I could get to conventions. And so I didn't have a lot of time. 2019, 2020, I was on 3 boards. I was on the state board, the local board, and also the LNC, and I didn't have a lot of time at all. And now I have a great job where I work 7 of every 14 days. So I have 7 days. I have 14 days off every month. I have a wonderful stay-at-home mom. My show has allowed us to let my fiance stay home with our kids. She's totally cool with me, going around the country, doing what I need to do when things need to get done. She's had no issues with that. There's nothing that is holding me back and making it hard for me to travel and do the things that I need to do. And in fact, even at my job, which is a great job, I have a lot of time at my job to get things done. You guys might know I spend a lot of time on Twitter during the days, even when I'm at work, because we have a lot of downtime at work. So it's not an issue. Like, time is not an issue for me. In fact, I feel more stable now than I was during my other 2 campaigns, and it's not even close. Another thing that's been said about me is that I missed a lot of meetings on boards. As far as the LNC goes, I've missed 1 meeting in each term. That's less than some other people have missed. And the only reason I missed a meeting this term was because I was in close contact at work with people who had COVID just a couple days before the meeting. So I decided, to sit that one out. It was probably better that I didn't show up in case I did get sick. And in fact, I ended up getting COVID. So it was good that we didn't go to that meeting and spread it around the LNC. There's some people on the LNC that aren't super healthy. And so I figured that was a good idea. So as far as the LNC goes, I've missed 1 meeting each term. It was the first meeting of my first term. And then, not this last meeting, but the meeting before my second term. That's really not, it's not anything. I mean, for a committee that travels to a different state every quarter for meetings, I've done better than some of the other people. And then as far as the state California board goes, I know that people keep bringing up some issues of me missing a couple of meetings there. 2 of the meetings that I missed while I was on the state. First of all, I want to reiterate this: the California State Board at-larges have alternates. So if you don't make it to a meeting, there's an alternate steps up, sets at the board. It's no big deal. So if you let your alternate know, hey, I can't make this meeting, they show up to the meeting and vote for you. So I was okay with missing these meetings because I knew I had an alternate there. But anyway, so I was traveling for the caucus for my chair campaign in 2020 when I missed these meetings. I went to 12 state conventions in 12 weeks. So it was every single weekend, for the caucus, for the campaign. I was traveling to state conventions to try and, build the caucus, build the campaign, bolster our position in the party. That was what I was really good at, was these campaigns, right? And that's one of the reasons we have, have the amount of members we do in the Mises Caucus was because I was traveling around the country, shaking hands, getting people to show up. And so that's what I was doing. And that's why I missed those meetings. And then I think I missed one of the Zoom meetings for travel as well. And but I didn't miss any other meetings. And in fact, until I resigned from that board in December of 2020, because I had moved to Iowa, I was still going to the Zoom meetings during COVID. So that's all been brought up. And then the other board that people keep talking about, which is something that I had never heard until recently, is the Libertarian Party of Washington board. When I first joined the party in 2016, I showed up to the Libertarian Party of Washington state convention. It was about 4 hours north from where I lived, on a whim. I didn't go for an election. I had never worked in party politics outside of campaigning for Ron Paul in 2008 and 2012. And I showed up to the Washington State Convention, and they asked, who's here from Region 5? I asked, where's Region 5? They told me it was the county that I lived in. And I said, well, I'm here. And there was nobody else there from my region. And they said, great, you're the Region 5 representative. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how to do any of this. And so I joined their Libertarian Party board there in, I think it was mid to late 2016, went back down to my region. As soon as I got to my region, my county chair and vice chair of my county resigned and dropped it all in my lap. So I had 5 counties, no county affiliates. So I started doing events where I could. I built social media for the counties. And I was trying to do things and still be a part of the board as well, which had monthly online meetings. And then in 2017, was when I decided I was going to run for national chairman of the entire thing. And what it was I was working on a publication called Think Liberty with a bunch of friends. It had gotten some good size, and Nick Sarwark, who I had been a fan of in the past, was going after Tom Woods. And I couldn't believe that this national chairman of this political organization named Libertarian was attacking Tom Woods. And so I called a bunch of the bigger name libertarians that I knew through publications and stuff and asked them to run for chair. Everyone told me I was crazy. I was insane. He's the most popular chairman this party has had ever in 50 years. And no one would do it. So I put out an intent to run statement thinking it would never go anywhere. Soon after that is when I found the Mises Caucus. I ended up traveling to 25 states. I got 22% of the vote at the National Convention in New Orleans, and it turned into something a lot bigger than I ever thought it would. So I was traveling for the campaign again when I missed a few. When I missed a few of these meetings for the Libertarian Party of Washington, but people keep bringing that up, that I was derelict in my duties in the Libertarian Party of Washington. But I have a full-on, like 4 or 5 paragraph endorsement from the chair of the Libertarian Party of Washington for my campaign that year in 2018 when I was supposedly derelict from my duties. So I just want to clear these things up. The things you're hearing about me, if you're in the Mises Caucus, the things you might have been told about me are not entirely true. Some of them are half true. Some of them are blatantly not true. And I'm willing to clear up any fears or issues you guys have with me. I want to clear them up right now and make sure that you guys know you have the right candidate if you vote for me for vice chair. Now, I talked to Mike Heiss last night. Obviously, you guys saw that Dave Smith has endorsed me. We kind of are moving away from Eric Rodsepp. I talked to Mike Heiss. I let Mike Heiss know that I'm 100% committed to working with him and Angela McArdle when this thing gets won. In whatever capacity she needs me to work with her. I think that the vice chair role is a support role. It keeps getting thrown around that it's an admin role. It is not just an admin role. In fact, as somebody who sat on the Libertarian National Committee for 2 terms now, almost 4 years I've been on that committee, it is the admin work is hugely done by the staff. Almost all of it. I mean, unless you really get into the budget stuff, the budgetary stuff, obviously done by the treasurer and the chair. That's kind of their job. They get that budget set, comes to the meeting. Then we have budget committee meetings where we go over the numbers and make sure we have everything where they want. Then we approve the budget. And then obviously minutes and meeting stuff like that, putting up motions online. That's all the secretary. But all the admin stuff outside of that is largely done by the staff. That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to do the admin stuff. The board is different. The vice chair is there to support the chair in things that the chair wants to do, not just admin stuff. But also the vice chair is there to take over the board when the chair can't do their duties. And if you were at the national convention in Orlando in 2020, Alex Merced, the vice chair, ran the entire national convention because Nick Sarwark decided he didn't want to do it. That's what the vice chair does. We've been told that the vice chair is not an outwardly facing public figure. In 2018, Arvin Vohra got more media than Nick Sarwark did as the vice chair. I mean, this is the truth about this position. It's not just an admin role, but it is a support role, definitely. And I'm committed 100% to working with Angela McCardle. I think we can do a great job together, and I think I have what it takes to get it done. I also have the organizational knowledge. I've been on the board for 4 years. I know how it works. I understand the culture. I understand the staff. I've worked closely with the staff, and I understand how to represent the membership. As an at-large, at-larges represent the entire membership as a whole around the country. So that's been my job for 4 years, and I think that I have the chops to get it done. I have the time to get it done, and I think that any past things that people are worried about, we should chill on and really think about who represents us. So with that said, I've been watching the chat a little bit, but do you guys? Is somebody saying my internet's not working really good or what? That sucks. Or how is it for the people in the Zoom? Have you guys had any issues with my internet at all?
It's great, Josh. You sound perfect.
Has it been okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on there. It does say that I had some notifications, drop frames. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Okay, so it's Q&A, and I kind of laid out what I'm thinking and the direction I want to go. But why don't we start? If anybody in the Zoom wants to ask me some questions, why don't you guys go ahead and raise your hand? There's a raise hand function on here, and then I'll have we'll start taking names if that's okay, and then we'll get those answered. Will, do we got any hands up yet?
Yeah, Charles Bird has had his hand up for a while. So
okay, perfect. Yeah, let's start with Charles.
Go first.
What's going on, Charles?
Yeah, so while you were on the California board, what were some of your what would you say were your proudest achievements while working on that board?
Well, I think when I was on the California board, the only committee that I was really on was the OpsCom. So the OpsCom committee is essentially if something happens that can't go to the full committee right away, the OpsCom can handle it in a shorter amount of time. We essentially would have a call and do that. During that time, I think one of our biggest issues was there was I don't know how much of it I can talk about. I know it's been litigated some, but there was a chair of a county. There was a chair of a county affiliate that had some issues with some false fundraising numbers. And so we had to handle that. And in fact, 2 people got their membership removed. If you remember that, I don't know if you were around for that, Charles, but and that was probably my biggest thing that I dealt with there. Outside of that, I mean, when I was on the California board, I went to meetings and then traveled for the caucus. So I didn't get a lot accomplished for California. And then I moved to Iowa. I moved to Iowa March of 2020, and I tried to continue the board work there through the Zoom meetings, like I said. But when I talked to Mimi, who's the chair, Mimi Robeson, and we decided that it was better if I resigned so that somebody who is in state and could do the in-state work could take over that role. So I ended up resigning after like 3 Zoom meetings in December of 2020, and somebody else took my role. So there wasn't a lot of work that I could do on the state committee there. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity. Like I said, I was a treasurer for my local. I was on the LNC and I was on the state committee and traveling for the campaign. It was a whole lot of stuff, man. A whole lot of stuff. So I was basically filling a seat and voting on issues at state committee meetings. So that was my biggest. The OpsCom was definitely my biggest contribution. So.
Another, if I may,
Sure.
In the past, you've talked about assembling a team of experts. The phrase used was media hit squad to help out candidates nationwide in getting more media coverage. How did that project come along?
So that was a project that I talked about doing for the national committee as chairman of the national committee. The chair has the opportunity to put together committees like that. Of course, the board has to vote on them still. But I unfortunately have been on 2 terrible LNCs that don't want to hear from me about anything at all. In fact, I was on the ASC for my first term, and as soon as Joe Bishop Hinchman won national chairman in 2020, he immediately took me off the ASC and put Valerie Sarwark as the head of the ASC. So it's not something that I've had an opportunity to do. I mean, it's something that I would have absolutely been able to work on as chair. And in fact, if Angela wins chair and I win vice chair, it's something that can still happen. If it's something that Angela likes. So I think it's a great idea. It wasn't just to help candidates though. That was never the intention. The intention was to have a media person in every region. So we have 8 regions. I'd like to have the best media person in each region that can speak on behalf of the national party for time-sensitive issues. If something happens in DC, we have somebody in the DC area. Of course, that's where our headquarters are, so probably it would be national chair. But if something happens in Texas, we have somebody in Texas in that region that can quickly get to the area and do some media for us. I think that's an important thing that all national political parties should do. But it's just something that, my LNCs that I've worked on, they don't care to hear from me. That's why, people might think that I haven't done any work for the last 2 years, but when I want to get something passed on the committee, or if there's something that I support, I have to go around quietly and talk to LNC members and get them to put it out for me, because these LNCs hate me. I mean, we're talking about Laura Ebke, Valerie Sarwar, Chris Lucchini. I mean, these are people that hate our side of the aisle. I mean, they hate the Mises Caucus. They see me as the representation of the Mises Caucus, and they don't want to work with me at all. So, I'm really looking forward to having an LNC that actually can work together and get things done. And I think that, the slate for the Mises Caucus can get that done. And that's still one of those things that I think we can build and do a good job with. But it's going to take a chair that wants to do it. So, I had that opportunity if I had become chair last year or the year or the convention before, but that just wasn't the case, unfortunately. Anybody else? We got any other hands up here?
I actually have a question.
Sure. Will.
Since you brought it up, how do you feel about the LNC headquarters being in Washington, D.C.?
I'm not so. I don't know. You know how I feel about DC. I think the Beltway sucks, and I'm not trying, as leadership of the National Party, I'm not trying to get us invited to the DC champagne parties. I don't think that's important. They already hate us. John Brennan went on national television and said that we're all domestic terrorists. They're never going to invite us to the champagne parties. So I don't care. I've been to the national headquarters several times. We've had fundraisers there, and I think that it's a really nice building and a really cool place of Old Town Alexandria, and the brickwork's great, and but I'm not opposed to opening headquarters somewhere in the middle of the country that's people can travel to more often, and I don't care about being part of the press club. That's something that Nick Sarwark and Joe Bishop Henchman and some of the staff members have been really, really attached to, especially Dan Fishman as the executive director, that we have to be a part of this national press club. And this is an important thing. And it's like, it hasn't netted us anything having a headquarters there. Absolutely nothing, and so I'm not opposed to moving it or selling it or keeping it and opening another one somewhere else. It's all, it's going to take a committee to have that happen, though. The chair cannot unilaterally do that. That's going to take a committee vote, and it's going to be something that is going to piss a lot of people off, because a lot of people have donated to that building. So it's going to have to be something that's done with grace, and whoever executes that and starts out with that is really, really, really going to have to do it with understand the culture of that building and what it means to a lot of people in the party before they get rid of it. So, but I'm not opposed to it at all.
Go ahead, Pablo.
Great. So as I understand it, the vice chair does manage the staff, and there does seem to be this operational and execution sort of aspect to it. What do you see the staff doing under a Mises Caucus led LNC? How will their life be different day to day?
Well, so it's actually, I don't know that that's the truth. I mean, the bylaws, it's pretty clear that the chair oversees all the day-to-day operations of including staff. And in fact, the chair can hire and fire staff as well. But I've worked closely with quite a few staff members. I don't, I think that there's some people on the staff right now that maybe shouldn't be there. I think there's some people on staff that are wonderful and don't get enough credit. Especially our candidate people. They're really, really amazing. And we need 50 of them at least. but I don't know. I mean, that's some, when I talked about running for chair in 2018, something that was really important to me was going into national headquarters as the chair, sitting down, creating an organizational tree, which the party doesn't have, and really trying to figure out some of these roles. So there's a lot of roles in staff that are doing more than one role when they're not supposed to be doing them. As far as like the development director inserts herself into way too many things and has way too much stuff going on. And I think if we can get in there and drop an organizational tree and really delegate these positions correctly, that's it's going to free up some people for more things. It's going to, batten down the hatches on people getting involved in things they shouldn't be involved in. But that's something that, when this wins, that, Angela's going to have to go into headquarters, and I'm more than happy to go in with her and sit down and talk about what's been going on with staff for the last 4 years. That's something that I bring to the table. Is I've watched staff for the last 4 years. I've worked with them. I've read their emails. I've read their proposals. I've been a part of all that. So, I think that's something that I bring to the table. Is any staff issues I'm going to be able to help Angela with. So, hopefully, I don't know that we can change a ton of. It's not like we can just walk in and change everyone's contract like on day one. You know what I mean? We can, if there's people who aren't doing their job, they can be let go out of their contracts, but we can't just go in and rewrite contracts right away. The contracts renew in January. If you guys watched on Christmas, I made that motion to relieve Tara DeSisto from her contract because she's involving herself in intra-party politics, pushing away donors, doing things she's not supposed to be doing. She's taken a position as a state committee member in Massachusetts, which I think is ridiculous. And contracts renew this month. So it's like, it's kind of now or never, you know what I mean? So that's why I made that motion. I knew it wouldn't go anywhere because, like I said, the LNC hates me, but I made the motion to kind of signal to everybody, like, this is what needs to happen. And in fact, I know there's a backroom motion being workshopped to remove me at the next LNC meeting because of that motion. So that'll be interesting to see what happens in the Reno LNC meeting here in a couple months. But I think we have to go in and sit down and really look at it and draw out an organizational tree and figure out what staff needs to be doing. And, we've dealt with so many shitty committee people and chairs that have been absolutely corrupt that who knows what all is happening behind the scenes, So hopefully somebody strong like Angela and with my help and other good committee members' helps can go into national and redraw this up. And then we can take a look at the contracts and see what we need to do. So, but thanks for the question, man. I appreciate you. What's up, Adam?
What's up? What's going on, Josh?
How you doing, buddy?
So I've heard some, all this stuff has been really unfortunate, man. Like, I'm like, what are they doing, man? I went kind of like all out, and these are people I care about. These are friends of mine. And I just like, man, how do you make missteps like this? But I've heard rumors that they might run like somebody else. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know. I'm hoping that you're like working some magic behind the scenes. How are you going to respond to the caucus if they try to pull somebody else out of the hat? I mean, have you heard anything about that in the wind or?
Yeah, I've heard, sure. I've heard about it, man. I've heard that that's a possibility. The Caucus is going to do what the Caucus thinks right for them. If I've talked about it quite a bit. If it's somebody that I think I can get behind, if it's somebody that I think I can support, and is going to represent me, then there's a good chance that I support that person. But as of right now, I believe that I'm the best candidate. I believe that I'm the only person who represents the Mises Caucus that's running. And I've clawed and scratched my way to where I am for this caucus right now. So. Look, like I said, in the beginning of this, I talked to Mike this morning and yesterday. I remain committed to working with Mike and Angela, to fulfill these goals and these dreams that the caucus has had for the party. Whether that's me as vice chair or somebody else as vice chair, but I would hope that the guy who has fought this war for them for 4 years would be the guy that they support. But I can't force them to do anything, but I have a lot of the members. have a lot of support. I told Mike in Boston that I had a lot more support than they thought I had, and he didn't believe me. And I do, and now we got Dave Smith next to us, and more people are coming to me and saying, hey, let's do this thing. So, I want to win, man. I do. I think I'd make a good vice chair. I think 2 weeks into the term, Angela's going to understand that her fears were unfounded, and that we can accomplish a lot on this LNC if it's a good LNC. So that's all I can do, man. Is keep telling them, hey, I remain committed to working with you guys. I know we had our spat. I know we had our drama, but it's time to put that behind us and move forward. So that's really where I'm at now, man. Thanks.
I'm excited to see you guys work together, really.
Yeah, I think we'll be a good team. That's the thing that's kind of been bumming me out is like I have a huge respect for Angela. I've been a big fan of Angela. Like I said, I dropped out of the chair campaign that I really wanted to run. I really, really wanted to run that chair campaign. And I dropped out and endorsed Angela because I think she was, I think she's a good call. I think she's strong. I think that she'll get the things accomplished that she wants to get accomplished. And I think if she has a strong right hand like me there, that we can get even more accomplished. So hopefully, like I said, 2 weeks into the new term, Angela McCardle vice chair and me for vice chair. I think that her fears get qualmed, and we start making our mark on the Libertarian Party. Josh,
good.
Yep, thanks, man. Josh, you got a question? Was Josh next or is somebody else? Will?
Josh is next.
I can't see all the hands.
All right, I got it. He's unmuted.
And he's sideways, bro. Come on, man. What's up, dude?
Yes, here. Not much, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. If for anybody who doesn't know, this is the vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Florida, wearing a really nice shirt.
I felt it was appropriate considering the night, man. So, want to hit you with the beach ball question real quick, but this is like a DL Cummings beach ball question where you're going to get tossed in the pool.
Okay.
So, like you said, I'm the vice chair for Florida.
Yeah.
Vice chair as a role is a very intensive job. Now, everybody's heard a lot about how you're ready to support Angela, but I want to be able to give you the silver platter to tell us all, if you haven't already, about what and how you plan on supporting Angela.
Sure. Well, look, like I said in the beginning, the vice chair role is heavily a support role for the chair. If Angela has to go to the bathroom during an LNC meeting, I take the gavel. That's how it works. I would venture to say there's no one on the LNC currently that knows Robert's Rules of Order better than me. I started studying it in 2017 because I thought I would be the chair in 2018. I continued to study it after that. Watch Nick Sar. Listen, we can hate Nick Sarwark all we want, but that man knows how to run a meeting better than anybody maybe ever in the history of the world. So I got to watch him run meetings for 2 years and learn a lot. Even his little snark that he can throw in, I'm good at that. So I think I can run the meetings. I think I can run the national convention very well. I've run state conventions. I've chaired state conventions. Outside of that, whatever Angela has planned for the national committee, I'm going to be there to support her. That's my role, man. That's what vice chair does. They support the chair in any way they need. And that's the bylaw stated rule. I mean, that's what they do. I'm willing to work on whatever she wants. Now I have my own plans. Of course, I still would like to work. I would still like to work on the, somebody's whispering. I still want to work on building a media hit squad. I think that'd be a great job. I think Angela would bring a lot to that discussion as well. But it's largely a support role, man. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna support the chair in any way that she needs me to support her, man. Honestly. And I believe that Angela will be the next chair of the LNC. I really believe that. So especially if our forces combined, my supporters, her supporters, we're gonna get this thing done. Thanks for your question, bro. Let's see.
Can't wait to see you in February, man.
Oh,
Appreciate
yeah, dude. I'm really stoked about coming to Florida. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat. I don't want to miss anything. There's a lot of people talking about my internet being crappy. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry, guys. Hopefully it's getting better. Oh, Shannon Lee, you've been a member for 6 months. Thank you. If you're serious about taking this office, prove it by doing DMT on the stream right now. God, you got to love Break the Cycle. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm just looking to see if there's anything. Nobody's asking any questions in the chat, but if you guys got any questions in the chat, please do. The Zoom link is on my Twitter. It's the last post I made, so nobody's really asking anything too crazy in the chat.
think Dave has a question here in the Zoom.
Okay, yeah, let's
Cool, man. Yeah, fairness and disclosure. I'm supporting you, but we haven't talked about this, so I'm surely curious. One thing that the vice chair does that a lot of people don't know about, and it's in the policy manual, is that it serves as the representative of the independent states,
Sure.
right? So Idaho and Mississippi. Could you perform that duty along with all the others? What's some things about your skill set that would make you apt to do that, I guess?
Sure. And actually, I really look forward to that, man. You know what I mean? I think that those orphan states are awesome. I know Mississippi hates national. So I'd remain dedicated to working with Mississippi and Idaho and, trying to bring them back into the fold, but not trying to force them to do it, especially Mississippi. I know I've talked to a lot of people in Mississippi, and when I was at the convention in 2020, I was talking to their chair, and he's like, "Don't even try to talk me into coming back into national. We don't care. We don't want anything to do with it." But issues arise for states, even states that are orphaned from the national regions, and so I would be willing to help them in any way they need it. As an at-large, I was a representative of in every state. That was my job. I've spoken, and most people know I've been to 45 states over the last 4 years for this party and for my chair campaigns. And I put on ballot access fundraisers in Alabama. I petitioned for ballot access in Ohio. I mean, I've been everywhere. And so, it'd just be 2 more states that I get to represent and solely them, which is kind of awesome as well. So I look forward to working with some of these guys, man. Definitely. Let's see. Oh, I got some super chats, man. What's up? Hey, Sean Patrick, thanks for the $5 super chat. What are some mistakes you've made and what have you learned from them? So I've made a lot of mistakes, man. You know what I mean? I really have. And I think that, as far as with the caucus goes, a gripe that they definitely have, the right to gripe about is that I wasn't very good at communication over the last year or so. And a lot of that had to do with, my new family. We took, for you guys who don't know, beginning of 2020, I was living with my best friend in a house in California. We cleaned up on Fridays before we went out to the bar. We didn't have a lot going on. And then I moved to Iowa in March to be with my now fiance. She got pregnant in April. She had 2 babies. She had 2 girls already. We had a baby on the way. In October of 2020, I got full custody of my, at the time, 15-year-old daughter. She had 2 siblings that were going to go to foster care from my ex-wife's, but they're not mine biologically. I was able to get full custody of them as well. And my daughter, when we went to pick her up in Arkansas, she was pregnant. So we had my son December, New Year's Eve of 2020. And then my granddaughter was born March 14th of 2021. And so I went from not having any kids in my home to having 7 children in my home in like a year, in 1 year exactly. And so I wasn't very good at communication for a while there. There was an adjustment phase for me, trying to learn how to deal with all these children and get everybody set up and get new schools. And, 2 of the kids that came to us had super lice. So we had to work on getting their lice removed and doctor's appointments and eyeglasses appointments and therapy and just a lot of stuff that I never had to deal with before. And so it was all new to me. I kind of took a step back from everything. And really just tried to process this and get the kids set. Now everything's set. The kids are doing really good. They've really excelled in school. Everything's really good now. So I wish I would have communicated better, especially through 2020. I definitely dropped the ball there. There's no doubt about that. And I had tried to take on a position as the candidate committee coordinator for the Mises Caucus sometime in 2019 when we started that role, maybe. And I was, like I said, I was on a state board, a local board, the national committee. I had all this stuff going on, and I just that was the one thing that kind of fell by the wayside. I would say, hey, here's some candidates. These are good candidates. Let's support these candidates. I would tell Mike what candidates we shouldn't support when he'd have a list, and it could have been a much bigger role. Could have done a lot more things, and I just didn't have the bandwidth to do that at the time. So that's something that I regret and a mistake I made, and I definitely learned, if we could be. Now, especially if communication is a much bigger factor in everything that we do. So that was a big one for me and something that I learned a lot. Trolletarian, thanks for the $5 super chat. I'd love to see a stream yourself, Mike, Angela, to hash things out. I'd love to see everyone get on board with a full audit of past LP biz. Yes, the audit is amazing. I think that the last convention needs to be audited. I think all of the staff, and so that's something that, with staff issues, I think all of the staff issues need to be audited right away. We need to really go through things with a fine-tooth comb because there's been a lot of corruption on this board, man, for several years. And I didn't really notice it until Nick Sarwark sat in front of us all at an LNC meeting and tried to force through a motion to pay himself $75 an hour to be the fundraiser for the party. That was pretty wild. That's why I really started noticing it. So that's back in 2019. So there's a lot to go through, and I agree. As far as the stream with Mike and Angela to go, I think we have a lot to work out behind the scenes before we all sit down publicly like that. And hopefully we can do that. Like I said, I remain committed to working with them and getting things done. So we'll sit down and talk, hopefully, and once we can hash that stuff out, then we'll come out publicly and talk about all that stuff. So, I see there's some more questions up there. Will, do you know who's next?
Peter looks next. He's,
okay.
Peter.
Hey, Josh. Peter here from Oregon.
Hey, buddy.
Question for you. Obviously, I'm a supporter of yours for vice chair. Question on there was way too many red flags with Eric. Like we saw the Facebook photo the other day with him and JBH, and obviously voting for Valerie Sarwark for that committee. But if not vice chair, do you think that his wanting to bridge the gap between him and the Mises caucus and getting more involved, do you think that's genuine? Do you think he has any place in our caucus, or do you see him as more of just like a Trojan horse type figure?
Yeah, so I wanted to commit to not talking about Eric too much on this podcast. I've talked about him a lot publicly, but that's something. Look, and I wanted to be clear about this. I was clear about this when I made my.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just don't want to sit here and bash the guy, right? Like, I've put out his positions. I think his positions stink. I think they're really, really bad. They in no way whatsoever represent this caucus, right? But I've met Eric. I've hung out with Eric. I've talked to his husband several times. They're nice people. He's a really nice guy, and I think he's a genuine person. And I think he would like to see some gap bridging. I do. I believe that. But his positions are just so far off. He's still in that fringe of the party that hates us. He's endorsed some people that have done really bad things, like Joe Bishop Henchman, like Ashley Shade, who is the chair of Massachusetts, and throwing our members out of the party. It's he's got a long way to go before he can represent me. That's for sure. Before he can represent the movement that I helped build. I don't think he's right for that. Do I think he's genuine and a good person? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I really do. I think he wants to do the right thing. But his positions are his worldviews are so wildly different than ours. I don't see how politically we can align with somebody like that. And I'm somebody who's fought real shitty actors for many, many years. So if I'm saying that, I mean it. It's not just, I'm not just saying it because I want to be vice chair. In fact, like I said in the beginning, if you guys run somebody better, if the Mises Caucus can find somebody who has more organizational knowledge of the LNC than I do and represents me on the issues, I would be amenable to supporting them. So, but yeah, I think he's a great guy. I think he's a nice guy, and I think he's genuine, but he doesn't represent me, that's for sure. And had I known his positions in 2020, I probably would have not asked the caucus to make him our 5th at-large member, just to be quite honest. So. Aaron.
Hey, so I heard you explain your reasonings of why you felt obligated to run, and I understand those. I'm interested in what you think your style as a vice chair would be. Is if we get to the point where we have you and Angela on the board together, is a unified public front a priority of yours, or is speaking out to the group when you disagree a priority of yours? What is your style going to be more of?
No, I think that we definitely need a unified front. And I know that, like I said just a second ago, I think that we have a lot of work to do, Angela and I, if we're going to work together. But I said it a million times during this podcast, and I'll continue to say it. I told Mike the same thing. I told Dave Smith the same thing. I remain committed to working with Angela, and I remain. Somebody muted me.
Hey, Josh, sorry. Go ahead and unmute yours.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, someone muted me. Like I told Dave Smith yesterday as well. I remain committed to working with Mike Heiss and Angela. I mean, this movement, you know, I'm not going to take all the credit for it, but there's a large part of this movement that I helped build for 4 years, and I just want to see it represented correctly by people who actually represent what we started this thing for. And Angela to me is you know, she's a wonderful person. She's a hard worker. She's strong. She's headstrong. I look forward to working with her, and I've been saying that since I started running for vice chair. I'm excited to work for her. I think that we'll do a really good job together, and I'm totally fine with hashing things out privately. You know, as long as, and I want to make this very clear. I don't want to bash the caucus. Okay, I don't. I love this caucus. I love this movement. If it wasn't for the Mises Caucus, I likely would not be in the Libertarian Party anymore. Okay, but I asked for a little professional respect for the work that I have done for the caucus, and I felt like that respect was not respected, and that's the only reason anything went public at all. Other than the Eric stuff, I was always going to talk about Eric's flaws. That's what, you know, when you're running a campaign and you're running against somebody you don't think represents the cause correctly, you got to show the public, their members, the bad stuff, you know, the things that are going to make them go, hey, maybe we should rethink that vote. But the stuff with the caucus, that was because I asked for professional courtesy. I didn't receive that courtesy. A lot of my members were getting messages that weren't true, weren't representing the truth about what I had to say. And so I needed to set the record straight because I deserve to let the people know that have supported me for many years that what they're hearing may not be the truth. And so I tried it other ways. It didn't work. And so I did it my way, you know, and but when we're working together and we're on the same board, it'll be really easy to just call her and be like, hey, what do you want me to do? Hey, what's going on here? You know, and I have no doubt that it can be handled behind the scenes. So I think we can keep a unified front. I think we can work through this drama and these issues pretty easily. And like I told Mike on the phone yesterday, I think we can work through them really easily and keep a unified front and work hard together. So thanks for the question. Let's see. I think there was some more questions down here in the chat. Let me see. I like the idea of Angela as chair with Josh to strike down all the haters. Yeah, well, that's definitely something I'm always going to do. You know how I feel about the haters. Josh as VC would take a lot of heat off Angela too. The Beltway Lolberts would lose their minds over him and largely ignore what she's doing. That's the truth. And I talked to Mike about this and Dave Smith as well. If Eric wins vice chair, the bad actors, the bad faith actors, the terrible people that we've been fighting for a long time, they're not going to leave the party. They're going to see that as a win. They're going to see one of their own. He may not be a bad faith actor, but he represents what they like, the blue-pilled kind of champagne beltway libertarian views. And so they're going to see that as a win, and it's not going to hurt them. You elect me as vice chair, and those people are going to leave. I got elected to my second term as an at-large, and Nick Sarwark stopped donating to the National Party. You know what I mean? Like, they hate me. So it definitely will take a lot of heat off of Angela and take some of the visibility away from her, and she won't get as much shit. That's for sure. Why so much obsession about a chair? For like $800, you could get a really nice chair. Does LP National really not have them? We want a couch is what we need. That's what we really need. Tim Miller, what's up? Josh, do you think that with your family you'd be able to commit to the responsibilities of vice chair? I know how busy 2 kids keep me. Glad your kids are doing well. Yeah, I talked a lot about that in the beginning, man. Yeah, this is believe it or not, out of all 3 of my campaigns, this is the most stable and I've been and the most time I've had. Like I said, I have a full-time job, but that job gives me 14 days off every month. And a lot of time at work to do stuff because I have a lot of downtime, and I have a wonderful fiance who stays at home with our children. So it gives me a lot of time to get things done, man. It's literally the most time I've had in all of my campaigns. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's see. Samuel Whiplinger, man, what's going on? Long time no talk, brother.
Heck yeah. So there's a lot of questions about when you decided to run as vice chair the second time. I know I was in the state organizer chat, and it looked like everyone was kind of caught off guard by that. Were there talks about this behind the scenes at all?
So I keep hearing this, that I decided to run for vice chair a second time. This is the first time that I decided to run for vice chair. I was running for chairman.
I could be wrong about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I've heard the board say it too. I was running for national chairman. I announced for chair before, as far as I assume, before Angela did. But I dropped that campaign after I thought about it. I talked with Mike about it. I dropped that campaign and supported Angela, threw my support behind Angela. I wanted to run for chair. So I talked. So initially when they were thinking about running Aaron Adams for vice chair was around the time I dropped my campaign for chair and decided to support Angela. And I had talked to Mike and they said they were thinking about supporting Aaron Adams. At the time, I was amenable to that because Aaron Adams was a good friend of mine on the board. She was a radical. She held a lot of really good positions. You know, she had been on the committee. I think this is her 4th term on the committee, maybe more. And so I was amenable to that. But then all this stuff happened with New Hampshire, and I was like, "There's no way in hell I'm going to vote for that person." In fact, if she decides to vote to remove Karen Ann Harlos, I'm running for vice chair. I made that very clear. I said it on my show. Clips of it got spread around. I mean, people knew. The people in the caucus knew. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I explicitly called Mike and was like, "Yo, Mike, I'm going to run for vice chair." But he knew, you know what I mean? And so, and I had been talking about it for a while. So they knew. They might not have known that it was going to happen right when it happened, but I had talked about it a lot. So, and I don't really want to entertain the thought that I just came out of left field with this, because I've been talking about it quite a while before I announced, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for answering that. And it's always been great following you, and appreciate all the work you've done.
I'll see you in Minnesota, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good. We got some more questions. Adam Jones, what's up, man?
Yeah, okay, I'm not unmuted. Okay. So is the JBH stuff with New Hampshire done? I mean, I heard that you tried to get the emails he deleted from Google or something, and like, is it just over? He's never going to face the mustard on that outside of just not being, he's just going to be persona non grata?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks because...
And then like...
Well, here's the thing. So I knew that there was something shady about the emails, right? Like that. So if you guys remember the saga of New Hampshire, I'm the one who made the motion for him to release all his emails between anybody from New Hampshire and himself, because I knew that it would show that he was likely talking to Sarwark, and also Gilletta Jarvis and others involved, Brian Shields probably. And so I made a motion for him to release all correspondence between him and anybody from New Hampshire. And that's when he started the ballot to remove Karen Ann Harlos, voted yes, and then resigned from the board. So you're welcome. I got Joe Bishop Henchman to resign. But there was a limited amount of time. In fact, I don't even know if the limited amount of time mattered, because I found out that our Google, I'm not a tech guy, but I found out that our Google had some kind of permissions to where we couldn't get those emails anyways. But we were, from what I understand, we had like 3 weeks to get the emails, and nobody pushed hard enough. You know what I mean? It's essentially what happened. And so the emails are gone. We have no other proof outside of that. He's not talking to anybody. Kind of over, man. But we had like 4 bad actors resign from the LNC, you know, between him, Tucker Coburn, Francis Went, and then David Valenti. They all resigned. I think Valenti resigned later for some health issues. I hope, you know, as much as we don't get along, I hope he's doing okay. But Tucker Coburn, Francis Went, and Tucker Coburn, by the way, was the regional representative of New Hampshire and voted to disaffiliate his own state. And so then I pushed him. I actually said, hey, you should probably resign, rethink your vote, and then resign. And then he resigned. And then Francis Went resigned and said, we're all racists and Nazis. And but that was it. I mean, we got those people resign. I thought it would make the board better, but unfortunately we ended up with Whitney Billiou as chair, who has been pretty not great as our chair. And she has no appetite whatsoever to go after this, and neither do any of the other bad actors on the board. And we're outvoted at the end of the day. We've been outvoted on just about everything we wanted to do. So
I had a quick follow-up, and it's related to that. I feel like everybody that went after Karen Ann Harlos, and to a certain degree, the people that just like avoided it, and I just can't help but look at it and think these people are hiding. And to me, it's like, you were like one of the only people that I saw up there fighting in the way that need to be fought. Like libertarianism is like right or wrong. Like it's an equation. You apply it to something. It's like math. You just have to stand when you have to stand. And I don't trust any of those people outside of you to actually go against the state when we have the opportunity to do so. There's only a very short list. There's like Dave Smith, you, Angela McArdle, Michael Heiss has been solid for years. Michael Heiss has been solid. So
hey,
I
please
just
don't
for the Ron Pauls.
Please don't forget about the Pink Flame of Liberty. I know some people have their own gripes with Karen Ann Harlos, but man, she stood up.
Oh,
she stood up for truth and justice on this board.
Libertarian warrior princess.
More than I know, she's hard to work with for some people. I've never had that issue. In fact, and I think it's because I've always been reasonable with Karen Ann completely. But I've never had any issues working with Karen Ann, and she has fought harder on this board for truth and justice and state affiliates than anyone I've ever seen. So please reelect her to secretary. Please. But yeah, the board has been rough. There's some good people on the board, man. Don't get me wrong. I love Pat Ford. Rich Bowen has been wonderful. Stephen Nikela has mostly been good. I'm not happy about his vote on the APRC, but we've had conversations behind the scenes about that. There's some good people on the board. It's just we're outvoted, man. And so I'm hoping that, you Mises Caucus people show up to the national convention in Reno, which, by the way, if you've never been to Reno, is a lot of fun. It's like I call it mini dirty Vegas. It's a good time. And vote the whole Mises slate and me if I'm not on the Mises slate, so that we have a board that gets things done, man. It's largely been a board of people that are not on our team and have not allowed us to get the work done that we need to get done. That's really been the problem. It's been the problem with every board I've been on, and until the Mises was not the driving force of the Libertarian Party until about a year and a half ago, maybe. It really started taking over boards. And it's always been the Champagne Party, DC Beltway types. And we have an opportunity to really drive the fork in this coming year, man. I mean, this is our time. This is the closest we've ever been. And we have the opportunity to get it done. Become a delegate, show up to Reno, and vote for the people who are going to actually represent liberty. So I hope that you guys will give us all that opportunity, man. We got some more live chat, super chats. Well, let's see. Sim Calpin, I think that's how you say it.